Citizens of Yubtub, welcome and/or welcome back to the channel. This is No Ocean coming to you live from YouTube. I wanted to do a couple reviews on this channel. If you watched the first video, you'll know that I said I wanted to review the XR15, which is the light setup I'm actually running on this tank. So I lied, and we're actually going to review and look at the Hydor Slimskim today. And here it is in all of its fish poop glory, sucking out all the nastiness, all the goodness out of this water right here. So let's talk a little bit about this system, how it works, how to set it up, and a little bit of the problems and issues that a brand new reef tanker could have, or just some things that you might be curious about as a brand new reefer, some questions or things like that. So here it is. So obviously, if you've done any research, I'm a little bit of a research rat. So I'll just go on and creep on internet forums until I find enough information about, you know, what I feel is needed, basically. And then once I feel comfortable that I know enough, or I've picked up enough information off the forums, I'll go ahead and grab up a piece of equipment and basically see if I can figure out how to get it working. So here it is, Hydor Slimskim review coming up. So let's just talk about it in general. So protein skimmer, right? In general, you can find, like I said, on the forums, tons of information. I'm not going to dive into the technicalities. I just want to talk about straight up what it does in general. And basically what it does is it's a water vacuum. You're basically creating all these bubbles. It's pushing up the froth and all the nastiness up and out and around and into this actual top cup right here. And basically you want to empty it out once it gets, you know, fairly full. You don't want that stuff dumping back up and around back into your system. So it's just a really great way of keeping your water quality just, you know, right on top of where it needs to be. And I actually originally bought it because, you know, it's a small tank. I don't really want to be doing water changes, you know, every single week if I can help it. If the tank or the tank inhabitants require it, I'll definitely do those water changes as needed. But if I can avoid it and avoid the hassle, because right now, honest reviews, right? I'm dragging buckets up and down the stairs and mixing water as required. So, yeah, so that's just a general idea of what the protein skimmer does, I guess. And if you obviously need any more technical specifics, you can look up and read about, I'm sure, all sorts of the aspects of what it does on a chemical level and all that sort of fun stuff. But we're not going to go over that today. Nope, we are just going to talk about this bad boy. So, basically, pretty simple setup. Let's go over and look at the manual for this bad boy right here. Okay, so here's a page of the manual. It's pretty simple instructions. There's a lot of different languages in the back for all your setup queries and such like that. But obviously we're going to be doing this in English today. So here's an overview. Obviously you want your drip loops and all that stuff, and it just goes over bare basics. And here is your actual technical setup. So it's not that hard to understand. You know, you'll figure it out, and if you don't figure it out, you can find a bunch of pictures online to, you know, just kind of, you know, where does this piece go? Oh, I don't know. Well, let's just try to plug this in somewhere and make it work. And eventually, you know, you'll figure out all the components and how that works. So I had a weird situation with this. When I brought the box home, it actually had all of this pre-assembled, which is the filter motor and the plastic, and basically all up till the cone. That was all pre-assembled. The only thing I had to actually assemble was the box and all these plastic chambers here. And then obviously I had to route the hose and everything for the air system. So yeah, over here it just gives you kind of like almost like a Lego brick kind of breakdown of how to assemble it. And that gives you a pretty good understanding. It's not too terribly difficult to figure out. Yeah, there's your magnet setup, how the cone actually goes inside the filter system, all that good stuff. So important step here, obviously you're not going to want to route the air hose outside of the system. You're going to want to keep it all internalized so you're not pushing that air out or water out, depending on how badly you set it up. So here was the confusing part for me. And it wasn't really necessarily confusing, but when you first get it, you wonder where that initial level should be. And you know, you're trying to figure it all out, but it's not going to happen in a day. It's going to take, I would leave this thing alone. I would set it up at the startup level as shown in the diagram, and I would leave it there for a week until you build up all that delicious slime on the inside. And you know, you start to understand more where your water level sits as, you know, the protein skimmer sits in there, and you can't figure it out on the first day. You're going to be messing with it, trying to adjust it. I'm here to say, don't mess with it, don't adjust it. You know, keep your O-ring exactly as shown in this picture, and just leave it there for a week. So, yeah, so just leave it there for a week. Don't touch it. Don't dabble with it. Let it find its groove in your system. Let all the nastiness and stuff build up, but just leave it at that level. And if it overfills immediately, which it will, it'll fill up real quick once you first put it in, because it's just going to be sucking out all that crap that you've had in there, basically. It'll fill up real quick, and then, you know, just obviously if it's real dark and murky, you know, you're going to want to get it out of your system. Initially, if it's pulling out pretty light yellow stuff, you know, on startup, which it could do, you're probably better off just getting rid of that, because there's still trace amounts of ammonia and gunk in there that it's pulling out. But yeah, probably just better off getting rid of that. But it's going to suck up a lot of water, and it's going to be very diluted at first. And yeah, so just try to keep on top of your water level inside the tank, your basic evaporation and all that good stuff. But yeah, so just follow this diagram. I'll actually show it to you right now. We'll walk back over. Okay, so here's the cup. Let me take this water spout off, or sorry, air hose off. Take this cup out. So this is the cup that you're looking at, and if you can see, my O-ring is still about center, you know. And as I said before, just leave it for a week. Let it build up until you have that really delicious looking gunk that's starting to cycle in. And then depending on if your water level's too high, or the the clarity of stuff that it's pulling out, you know, isn't as dark as you would like it, I'd say after about a week, then you could adjust it and basically take your O-ring and then, you know, push up or pull down on that O-ring to reset the height. Let's see. So then, yep, your air hose. So the one thing that they didn't explain very well about this air hose is basically I was looking forever to find out what setting that this air hose should be set at, and that was kind of hard to figure out. You know, because it all depends on the airflow that you want that's creating the bubbles inside the system that's pulling all the gunk out. So I've just left it wide open, and you can feel it sucking depending on, you know, where your setting is at. I would leave that thing wide open, you know, all the way to the right, all the way open, pulling as much air as you can, and then if you feel that you need to adjust the air setting, you can go ahead and do that later on. So yeah, that was the biggest thing I was looking for. Let's see. So the grate, basically the water height setting, you want the water height about halfway through this grate. And that way it's going to come in, the water line's going to be right underneath your cup, and it's going to push all that foam. So the foam levels, you want to actually have the foam levels below the neck. you don't necessarily need, and this is one thing that I learned the hard way. I had to search and search for this, but basic, simple answer. You want these bubbles to be right before the neck. And basically all it's going to do is it's just going to keep building up, building up, building up, and then you're slowly going to have a foam build up, rise up, and then fall over. But you don't need it to immediately just be bubbling inside the chamber. I would leave that foam build up right here until it built up so much that it's going to push that foam up and over and into your collection cup. So yeah, there's that. Yeah. So here's the magnet system. I originally had an issue. If you have a cover on, this thing is really bulky. I ended up actually getting rid of my cover on this tank to support it. Yeah, it just kind of sits on the side there. It's pretty hefty, pretty big size, but it's a very great piece of equipment. Here's some of the magnets. They just pull off, pull on. Pretty simple. Just set your water height again. Want that to be to the middle of the grate. I don't know if you can see it underwater. Yeah, so there's about half the grate sitting in the water line. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Routing is pretty simple. You're gonna run the lines, the air hose lines, through the back. And actually these mount-on clips on the very back here, you can just run your pipes up through. There's actually little divots that you can run your hose through, up and out, and back over into your air supply. So, yeah, that's basically it. Let's see, anything else I can talk about? It does a great job overall, honestly. I very much recommend the Hydor Slimskim. I wish, you know, as with anything, I wish the instructions were a little bit more clear. You know, give us something like a general overview. You know, what does this do? You know, for the basic reef tank, or you know, fish only. You know, give us something to work with, like a basic rundown of what it does, how it works, and you know, where to use it. You know, how much air we should be pushing through, that kind of stuff. Just break it down as basic as you can, and that way we won't have to search YouTube, right? And look for all these explanations on how to set it up. Anyway, guys, if I left anything out, please let me know. Obviously, if you have a better way of getting this thing set up than me, obviously because I'm brand new to this, go ahead and give me a shout out in the comments. Let me know. And if you need me to pull it out, you want me to break it down even more, you're just having problems setting it up, something's going wrong, you know, shoot me a message. I'll be happy to pull it out and really get in depth on how to set it up. Just make it really simple. But again, just let me know, and that's the Hydor Slimskim for you. See ya.